Welcome to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk, a show about ancient coins from the viewpoint of a seasoned professional with nearly 30 years' experience. Here's Aaron Berk and Mike Nodelman on the Ancient Coin Podcast.
And the sound of the tone means it is once again time for another episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Nodelman.
I'm Aaron Berk.
And short story, I really don't know a lot about ancient coins. I'm a numismatist, though. But since I know Aaron and he knows virtually everything about ancient coins, he decided to teach me. And herein you can learn with us. So let's see. On tonight on the Ancient Coin Podcast, we are going to talk about typical world of auctions, but we also have a nice educational piece, and I think we even have a game.
We do.
Okay. So without further ado, Aaron, what do you have your eyes on currently?
It is auction season. Do you guys all feel that? Do you guys feel the pain in my voice?
I do.
I don't know about the rest of you collectors out there that are having to deal with all these auctions, but it is exhausting. So it is auction season. It can be fun, but it can be exhausting, especially when you're dealing with Europe and time changes and all of that. So I just a little recap. I just did the Poise sale this past Monday, and so just a couple days ago, and it was I would say the market's still good on high level coins. I'd say it's still strong. There's still a lot of support. I would say some of the other areas have probably started to bottom out a little, but I thought in general the auctions are still relatively strong.
Which could be surprising in the current economic conditions.
Yeah, well, I mean, most of us aren't millionaires, and so most of us are not inflation.
We're affected.
Yeah, we're affected for sure, absolutely, and so we at Harlan Berk, we've never tried to focus on the whales. It's never been our thing. I mean, we have whales, but we like to cater to everybody who buys ancient coins and U.S. coins and currency and everything else. And so obviously when the inflation bug starts to come, stores like us, we do start to feel it at the bottom end. And so we'll see how that goes as time goes by. But for those inflation proof people at the top, they're still paying big money for rare and unique items.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. So as always, I wanted to focus on a couple of auctions that are coming up. The first one I'm going to talk about is an e-sale. It's the Neville Numismatic auction, which is going to be November 13th. And like a lot of these e-sales, you're going to find a lot of inexpensive coins. You have to sift through a lot of things, but the Neville sale, which is associated with Numismatic Ars Classica, which we'll talk about in a second, one of the premier auction houses in the world. And so a lot of their lesser materials go to this e-sale format. And so there's a lot of great coins that can be bought for not a lot of money. And so I picked out a couple to kind of highlight. The first one's going to be, Mike, if you want to bring up lot 91.
Got it.
Okay. So here we have a Sidetan tetradrachm. These are minted in Asia Minor. And you have a really beautiful Athena head on the obverse is a large tetradrachm. And on the reverse, you have a Nike advancing. But what's really cool is that, and we'll talk about it in our educational section, is that there's a countermark on the far right at 3 o'clock. And that is a countermark of an anchor. And the anchor typically represents the Seleucid Empire. And so here we have coinage and we have the mark of the Seleucid Empire on top of it. And so we'll get into a little bit more about countermarks and the interesting parts of collecting them. But this is not, I mean, it's at current bid's 260 pounds, not bad.
It's a nice looking coin, nice detail, nice,
it is.
everything looks solid.
And, most might say Countermarks might devalue the coin. Well, in some cases they did devalue the coin, but in this case, I think that it adds to the history and the collectability of the coins. And so when you get really interesting Countermarks like that, that actually can raise the value of some of these coins. And so I think that's really interesting, and it's a nice large tetradrachm, and it's under $400. So it's, definitely would fit well into anybody's collection that collects Greek, collects for aesthetic purposes, and collects Countermarks. So it has a lot of selling points, a lot of collecting aspects that people would go after in this situation.
Really nice looking coin.
Yep. The next one I want to talk about is going to be the famous shekel of Tyre. And that's like lot 119.
Yes, sir.
And as most of you know, and we've talked about the 30 pieces of silver that was paid to Judas. And so these are very popular with a lot of non-coin collectors who want to buy something that's mentioned in the Bible. And so here you have a shekel that's not a lot of money, really. These typically can run, over $1,000. And here we're sitting at 450 pounds. And it's not a bad coin. It's pretty toned. But, in a lot of these e-sales, you will find diamonds in the rough. So you just have to kind of search through and look for them. And here, in my opinion, is a very popular coin that can be gotten for not a lot of money in comparison to what they typically bring. And so I think that's the advantage of some of these e-sales, where you can actually find a good bargain. And then the third coin I want to talk about is
148,
the famous Cleopatra. And I always look for these coins in e-sales. It's worn, but you have the famous Cleopatra, the non-Liz Taylor type on the obverse of the coin. And so again, at 170 pounds, it's not a lot of money for one of the most famous women in numismatics.
Well, not just in numismatics, but in history itself.
In history in itself. How about in ancient numismatics? How's that?
Well, I'm still saying in history itself. I think it's a bigger pool. And you're correct about the not Elizabeth Taylor. This is more like the Margaret Hamilton.
Well, she was very smart, but not high on the beauty scale.
Hey,
so
she owned it, though.
She did. And, it's well known that the enlarged chins and noses were actually done on purpose. It actually showed power. And so I don't really know how big her nose was,
right?
But she typically is depicted with a big hooked nose.
Mm.
So her identity is generally pretty easy to pick out once you get a feel for what she looks like.
So I guess that's where they come up with the idea of the classic Roman nose.
Probably. Probably.
That's interesting.
And maybe why they deface them by knocking off their noses. Could be.
Possibly.
So anyway, so that's Neville. I would definitely check it out. It's definitely worth seeing. Next, I'm going to move on to the NAC sale. This is their premier fall auction. It's in 3 catalogs, sale 133 through 135, all going to be sold on November 21st. And there's a lot of great coins in these sales. A lot of the estimates are, in some cases, extremely high. Until I saw the NGSA sale, which I'm not even going to talk about because the estimates were so ridiculous in that sale. I'm not even going to bring it up, other than to say very expensive.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
but look at this coin. I mean,
yeah. So the one that you're probably bringing up, the lot 276, the Galba.
Yes.
Okay. So what's really cool about this coin is the coloration, and see how it has that reddish brown coloration on the obverse.
Yeah, now this looks to me to be gold.
It is gold.
Okay,
correct.
But it's toned more like bronze.
Yeah, so this is an aureus of Galba, And this was minted in 69 AD, between 68 and 69 AD. But what's really cool about this coin is this is part of the Bosco Reale hoard, which was found in 1895 around Pompeii. And so the coins were literally burned by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. And so they get the coloration from the actual volcano eruption.
Wow.
And so these are highly desirable because one, we know when the hoard was found in 1895, so it has a long pedigree. And number two, well, I guess that's it. Like the fact that
I mean, it's
exactly
legal to
the
own
toning
for that reason, and
well, it's legal to donate them to museums and things like that. Yeah. And actually the toning actually really brings out the highlights of the coin.
sure.
They're really beautiful. But the fact is, if you think about the history of Pompeii and in this hoard, they found 1,000 aurii, 1,000 Roman gold coins and silver and treasure and all kinds of stuff. And
Okay,
it was actually a private home.
Now here's where I'm going to play really, really rookie, and I'm going to ask some questions that may seem really obvious, but why not? I'm going to make an idiot out of myself. So I'm looking at the legends on the coin, and I get imps there, and then Galba, and Galba's where, but then we have Caesar Augustus. Is this that's Augustus, correct?
Yeah.
And
Imp states that he's the emperor.
Is the emperor. Okay. Well, I was getting there.
Okay.
And but I mean, okay. So maybe it's sinking in better than I thought.
Right. And then on the reverse of the coin, you have Divus Augusta. So probably giving some restitution to Augustus. But you have Livia on the reverse of the coin. So it's a very cool coin. It's a really cool history. And I think the Bosco Reale hoard makes it very interesting for a variety of reasons. Obviously, Galba is one of the 12 Caesars as well. So it has a lot of, the estimate's very high. 75,000 is very, very high for something like that. And
those are Swiss francs, and that's pretty much 1-to-1 right now. So
it is. So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's a coin worth going after, even if you had $75,000. Most people don't. But these generally would sell for 25 to 35,000, maybe a little bit more. So I think 75 is really pushing it. But the pedigree does sell. I don't know. I'd have to look to see what Bosco Reale coins have been bringing recently to see if it's worth it. But not all auction prices are great. In the first catalog of the NAC sales, it is the more of the Sheikh Al-Thani. It's more of his collection, and he overpaid for a lot of coins. So a lot of the coins in that catalog are going to be overestimated because the Sheikh paid way too much money for the coins. And so it's just a matter of whether or not, and the Sheikh's family will probably take some losses on some of these coins, but they have to start him at a high level because he paid so much money for some of these coins that the family will never get out of them. So they're going to take losses on them, but still they have to start them really high. And in most cases, the estimates are don't make a lot of sense for a lot of people that are used to buying at those types of levels. So, so I didn't even bring up any coins in that part of the sale because one, I just think they're too expensive in some cases. There's some deals in there. You just have to look around. But again, this is high level stuff. So
sure.
And most of our listeners can't afford that kind of stuff.
No, but you learn so much looking at it, and it's kind
of
cool
to
look at.
I mean,
it's kind of like coin
you would
porn.
know. Yeah, you wouldn't know about the Bosco Reale hoard. That's interesting stuff. And so if you see a reddish brown color like that, that it's probably Bosco Reale. So if you go to the next coin, I'm just going to go for the most expensive coin in all the sales because it's such a cool thing. Yeah, so this is lot 392, and this is we talked about Constantine the Great last time with Christianity and the Cairo symbol in our last show, and so here this is a medallion. So this is, I believe it's around 38 or 39 millimeters.
It's huge.
Huge coin. It's 6 solidi, so it's actually worth the weight of 6 soliduses in weight. So this is 26.77 grams of gold. So it's a
almost an
massive
ounce.
coin. And these were actually given out as gifts to some of the high-ranking military people during the anniversaries. So this was really they may have even been given out in some cases by the emperor himself. Not, obviously not in all cases, but you want to keep your army pretty happy. And so of course you're going to pay your high ranking officials these great big medallions to keep them in line. So they're rare. They don't come up often. And it's a lot of gold, and it's a really cool item that you don't see too often by one of the most famous Roman emperors that we have.
Wow.
So
that's all I can say about that one. That's a wow.
Yeah, I mean it's a wow. It's a wow. So so that's kind of where I was at with the auctions, and they keep coming, guys, and they're going to keep on coming.
Oh, sure.
And they're going to keep on coming. So
you say that like it's a bad thing. That's actually good news.
Well, for us who are representing clients in auction, it can get exhausting. It's still fun, but it gets exhausting just keeping up with it all. So like the other day I thought I had to be up at 6 a.m. for the poi sale, and then it turned out my first lot didn't come up till 8 a.m. And so then, it just got up too early for nothing. So
oops.
When you're dealing with, overseas, I mean, I bid in the
it's all the time changes, and now that it's November, the world is changing, and so you're not getting like a 1 hour swing, you're getting like 2 hour swings. And
it's going to all change this weekend with the time change again.
Well, it's one last time for us.
Right. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. So I was bidding in the Kunker sale a couple weeks ago, and I had to be up at 3 a.m. for it. That's when it started. I mean, 3 a.m. is really early.
Well, it depends. It's either really late or really early. Well, but in no time did I say normal.
Right. I mean, in my case, I was up at 3 a.m. for 2 lots, or 3:30, and then I had to wait 200 lots for my next lot. So
and you had no idea how long that was going to take.
No, and I had to be careful because you don't want to oversleep. I mean, they were calling me on the phone.
Sure.
For phone bidding, so I had my phone next to me with it on. But I literally just laid on my couch with the auction running and just kind of dozed off.
That's great. That's great.
So anyway, the life of a dealer. What can I say? And for some of you collectors as well. So to move on, let's go to our educational section. Mike, if you want to bring up the first page of the slides.
Okay, the countermarks.
Yeah, okay, there we go. So we just talked about it when we had an anchor on a coin. Countermarks on ancient coins. This is a really cool area to collect. There's countermarks on all types of ancient coins, and obviously we have countermarks on US coins as well. And so it's not something that is new to numismatics, and it was started at the beginning of coinage for the most part. You find it mostly in the you'll find it in the Greek period, but you'll also find a ton in the Roman provincial period, with the over 600 different cities that were minting coins at the time. And so, there's a lot of reasons why coins were countermarked. So a countermark basically just means that the coin was actually struck with a stamp that had either an animal or a symbol or a mark on it that could have meant that it was reevaluating the coinage, reevaluation of the coinage, devaluation of the coinage, or just simply propaganda. Sometimes these things, countermarks, if you had a bunch of silver and you're giving them out to your army, maybe you might stamp them with your symbol to, say, hey, this was a gift from us. This is representing us. Sometimes it was
gift.
Yeah, sometimes certain silver coins were going through different regions, and maybe a banker that was hoarding the coins would stamp it with their mark to say that it came through that territory. So there's lots of reasons why coins were countermarked. and collecting them can be an endless joy for a lot of collectors out there. If you go to the next slide, just to kind of go through a few. I mean, I could show you Countermarks until we're blue in the face, but I just picked out a few because, we don't want this show to go on for hours and hours and hours. So the first one here, we have a coin of Aegina. And so, and the Aegina has the sea turtle on it because Aegina was a sea power in the beginning of their coinage. And then towards the end, they lost their sea power and went to the land turtle. So, which makes a lot of sense on purely a logic sense. So,
So this
and here
one's
we
got
have
flippers.
Yeah. So here we have tons and tons of little countermarks on the shell of the turtle. And so this obviously had been marked up by either for many different reasons. And I'm sure if we got deeper into this and the different countermarks, we could come up with some meaning for each one of these countermarks and why it was actually marked with those marks. Some you won't be able to figure out, and some you will. That's the beauty of ancient numismatics. But there are some books out there on countermarks, and so you can educate yourself on that. But in some cases, countermarks can bring down the value of a coin. Sometimes a countermark, depending on what it is, can raise the value of a coin. Just depends on what it is and how historic that countermark is.
Does it make it interesting? Does it make the coin more interesting in some way?
I mean, sometimes you'll get a Julius Caesar portrait coin with a countermark right on the face. And of course, that's not going to aesthetically help its cause. So on a coin like this, it's very worn anyway. And so in my opinion, the countermarks that make it more interesting because the coin was already worn. If it didn't have the countermarks, in my opinion, it wouldn't be as interesting because of the wear on this coin. So in my opinion, this makes this coin more desirable because of the countermarks. Just because it really shows the history of this coin and how much this coin actually traveled in ancient times. We talk about coins traveling, and the fact is there's always this argument about should ancient coins stay in source countries that they were made in. Well, you can tell just from this coin right here that this coin traveled all over the place and would have never stayed in Aegina. And so why should this coin go back to Aegina, to the source of where it was made, when it could have been found anywhere, really, wherever those countermarks took it? And so this has always been the argument for collecting ancient coins, is that they were mass produced and they did travel. And here's the proof by the stamps that were like a passport. These stamps are like a passport.
And that's not something that ended with ancient coins, because it was something that was carried on into the, early 1800s in the Far East with a lot of the coins that circulated there. And
on paper currency, same idea. We had a lot of paper currency that was stamped. The Hawaii note, for one. So isn't that a stamp on the Hawaii note?
Well, it's an overprint, but it's the same basic idea.
Same basic idea. So if you go to the next slide, here's another one. It's a coin of Ptolemy the First, countermarked up the wazoo on both sides. We got rosettes, we got stamps, we got marks, we got all kinds of stuff going on. It's scratched up, it's pitted, it's worn, but damn, is it beautiful.
Well, it's almost hard to tell what's damage and what's countermarked.
No, it's just countermarked up the...
I know, but I mean, I'm just talking about the back of his head. He's got that big square one, which is, that's not so great. The pit right in front of his mouth is probably not really a countermark. That's probably dead. But then hey, look, I don't know. I know.
I don't know. It looks pretty intentional to me, so I'd have to disagree on that one. But it's all scratched up on the...
Sure.
But think about it like this. If this coin didn't have all the countermarks on it and it was just a worn flat coin, that'd be interesting. But doesn't it look so interesting you're like, man, that guy's been all over the place. I want to party with him.
Yes. This is a guy that I want to party with. No, that's exactly right. And where... you say that, well, some countermarks, really detract from value. It's not the case when they're attractive when they tell a story, when they do the right things for people. And this
Well, when the
one's
coins
got
are
that.
already worn, yeah, when the coins are already worn, they're already a certain value anyway, right? They're already
Sure.
a lower value, and the countermarks just add to it. So there are a lot of collectors that love countermarks, and they find so much beauty in a coin like this because of the amount of traveling this coin did, and the amount of countermarks, and the amount of numismatic study that can go into this coin if you can figure out some of the countermarks beyond just the fact of who it is on the coin.
Sure.
So just really, really interesting. So if we go on to the next one, what's interesting about this Athens coin is that, see how maybe for your eye it's a little bit different, but if you look on the reverse of this, the owl is kind of like slanted forward. The AOE, which represents Athens, is kind of like on an angle. So this is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a knockoff, essentially.
Counterfeit.
That's the word I'm looking for. No, it's not a counterfeit. It's a my brain's not working right now. Imitative. So it's imitative. So
Okay. So
see, when you're doing a
imitation.
live show, guys, I mean,
Hey,
it is what it is.
right.
So here, this is a imitative, and so it's now well known and well believed that coins of Athens were issued all over the Greek world. If you had silver, you would issue coins. In some cases, the die cutters in some of the areas. This happens to be all the way in Sumerian, in the Middle East, and we know that because of the countermark of the shin, which is a Sumerian ethnic letter on the cheek. And actually we've had other letters that were actually raised instead of being countermarked in, so it was in the die itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that they were actually produced with it carved into the die. This is not the case with this was actually countermarked, but this is an imitation. And so when a coin is like off a little bit from the style that you usually see, you can kind of determine that it's going to be it's ancient, but it was obviously made non-official outside of Athens.
Yeah, it's one of those that just doesn't quite look right.
Correct. And a lot of times, what we as numismatists fall into a lot of times is we just automatically go Celtic. And so that it was a Celtic Germanic tribe that did it. And that may not be the case. It may be the case, but a lot of us just fall into it's Celtic and that's it. And so here, because of the letter on the cheek, we know that this was actually produced
in the Middle
East.
Yeah.
Right. So, but a lot of us, we don't know where a lot of the imitative coins were produced in some cases, unless there is a hoard that was found and documented where it was found. And so typically that's where you get into the Celtic imitations. Though a lot of Celtic imitations, they can get really, I think I've talked about it on the show, they get very stylistic to the point where they're not even close, and on purpose, not even close to the original official dies. But here, this is just slightly off. And so, but really interesting to show that Athens coins and how far Athens coins were the Morgan dollar of its day. And so they were produced everywhere and they were accepted everywhere, because you have to remember the ancient world was illiterate. So imagery was extremely important. So as long as you had the silver and the right weight and you had the right image, they would take your coins.
And that is kind of the way that money worked up until the early 1900s.
Yep. So if you go to the next slide, like the coin we showed in the auction, here's another one, but this is an Alexander type.
Oh, I see the
Alexander
anchor.
the Great type, but you have the anchor right there. And that's actually really well placed because it's not on the face. It's like in the back of the head there. And so this, to me, really adds to the value of the coin. And again, it's the Seleucid symbol. So it has a lot of, a lot of desirability here in this type of coin, because the reverse is pretty worn on this coin, and so really beautiful on the obverse of that coin. But I wanted to show that the anchor here showed up on more than one type of coin from the same period, which makes
Well
it really
protected on this coin.
yeah, exactly. If we go to the last slide here, if you look here, this is actually an issue of Pompeii or Pompeian period.
Is that a quadriga on the counter stamp?
No, it's sideways, but that's a portrait of Cleopatra.
Oh, okay. I see it.
See her nose? Her nose is facing down.
Yeah.
Right. And so so what they were doing with this countermark is they were showing that these circulated in the Syro-Phoenician territories that were given to Cleopatra by Mark Antony. So they were literally striking the countermarks in here to kind of give propaganda to those coins in those regions. So, and here you have a portrait of Cleopatra in the counter stamp. Really cool coin.
Mm-hmm.
Real cool coin. In fact, I would say the countermark on this coin makes the coin valuable, more so than the coin, because of the popularity of Cleopatra.
Sure. Takes a coin that normally would have nothing to do with her and suddenly makes it about her.
Exactly. So I found a couple of interesting places to research countermarks. There's probably ones on Greek, but if you go to the last slide, Mike, you don't have to go to there's one on Forum Coins where there's always a lot of really cool information. But if you go to the second link there on the Roman coins and countermarks, this literally lists all the different countermarks. And then if you click on any of the hyperlinks, it'll actually give you listings of coins with those countermarks.
Oh, that's very cool.
So very, very cool. And some, the gentleman who put this together, Pen Girl Martini, probably murdering his name, but he did an excellent job here. And you can just see the depth of research that can go into countermarks and how interesting they can really be. And so this is, again, this show is about how to collect ancient coins, and countermarks is massive. And you can do it in Greek and Roman, you can do it in all different types of coins, and it's really endless. And the amount of different counter stamps that you would come across is pretty much endless.
Yes, because the number of places that they'll have been is nearly endless.
It completely is. It completely is. So, Mike, you had a great idea about playing a game. And so,
you know what? Here's the thing I'm going to tell you. So, on another podcast that I'm a part of, we like to play games, and my partner Matt is always like really, really leery of it because I ambush him. So I'm quite certain that he is just sitting back right now in delight. Please go ahead.
So if you go to the next slide.
I got to go back to that. Sorry.
No worries. No worries.
All right. It's countermarks. And boom.
There you go. Guess that coin, Mike. Guess that coin. And so I think it's really important with ancient coins, as time goes by, you really start to learn the imagery of ancient coins. And so after a while, they just become second nature to quickly be able to identify who or what city issued the coins. And so we thought it would be interesting to kind of bring up some either coins themselves or line drawings of ancient coins and see if Mike can guess who minted the coin. So I'm giving him really, these are like, there's 12
these are layups,
12-inch softball. This is more like beach ball in my opinion.
Okay.
First two.
So this should be easy.
So go to the next slide, Mike. And can you tell me who issued or what city issued this coin?
Athens.
Bam! Told you it was a softball.
It was. This one was right on a tee
and
for
of
me.
course, it actually says Athens in abbreviation on the reverse of the coin.
That's the
but we always know We always know Athena, and the owl is representation of Athens. So that was a pretty easy one.
And one of everybody's favorite coins. I will tell you, I have a T-shirt with this image on it, front and back. So yes, I've even become a fan of it.
And we just talked about that they are the Morgan dollar of their day, and so it is a very iconic image. And in fact, the owl is still very prevalent in today's society, artwork, and imagery that you can see around us today.
Believe it or not, you will find an owl on the $1 bill if you look in the right place.
That's true. Okay, next one's a little bit harder, Mike. Still pretty can be good, but
okay. So let me see. This one is so I'm guessing. Let me look at this. So it's type. Man. All right. So we've got an eagle. And that's a clue. Is the man on the coin, is that Zeus or is it Alexander?
Nope. Neither. Alexander will always have his Hercules headdress for the most part.
Okay.
So I'll give you a hint. We talked about this coin earlier in the show on one of the auctions that was coming up.
Uh-oh.
And it's a biblical coin.
Oh, so this is a shekel of Tyre.
Correct.
Okay, that's the Tyre. Okay, on the backside.
And that's Melkart on the outburst. And you can always tell because he's kind of see how the hair kind of comes down the chin, down the side of the face there. He usually has that lock of hair that kind of comes down the cheek there.
Oh, so kind of a curl, like down the front. I got it.
Exactly.
But his is
and so,
sideburn.
I mean, the eagle could have thrown you off too, because you get a lot of coins of the Ptolemies that have eagles on them as well. But usually it's Zeus, and Zeus's are usually bearded.
Well, it's funny. You notice that's where I went, though, was Zeus and an eagle. And I can't claim that I knew that was Ptolemy. But,
so two famous coins. And you were 1 out of 2. I mean, I'm almost going to give you the second one because all I had to do was say biblical, and you were like, bam. So,
well, no, you had to tell me we talked about it earlier in the show. So
we did.
I'll surrender on that one. I'll take a 50%. That's so
we'll see.
Not...
I don't know how all you guys did at home. I'm sure for a lot of you guys, this was like super, super easy. And for a few of you guys, you're just like, I got to get better at this game.
You know what, though? I like this game. And we need to continue to play this game. And what we should do is we should make it 3 coins. And that way you get a really nice, it's like you can still miss one and still bat 600.
I think that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. So so that's our game for this show anyway.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have a pearl of wisdom this week. Do you have any?
We played a game instead. I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, that's
Here's
true.
my pearl of wisdom: have fun with your friends. Coin collecting is fun.
Oh, I like that.
Have fun with your friends.
I like that. And we're going to the election season. Be kind to your neighbors. And one thing I've always tried to push is here's a pearl of wisdom: do not mix politics and numismatics.
I like that. You and I have had this conversation since I'm an employee, and it's not that you are directing me to say don't. I was telling you I just don't think it's a good policy, and you're like,
I don't think you should mix politics.
Yeah, no, it's just generally not a good idea.
It's they don't belong together, and I see a lot of people on social media, a lot of coin collectors that engage in politics, and they should.
A lot of dealers. A lot of dealers,
a lot of collectors.
So I do want to make one political comment, because this is the only one you'll ever hear out of me. I don't care who you vote for. I only ask that you vote.
You vote. Yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
And, my political
leanings.
preferences is not any. It doesn't belong in numismatics. You know, I mean, I'm running a business and I'm dealing with coins, and coins don't have a political agenda. So why should I?
The other thing, and this is the smart business part of it, is that, you know, look, our country right now is rather polarized. So no matter which side you choose, you're going to piss off half the other people. So, you know, it's like, why not just be everybody's friend and have a bigger pool to choose from?
Well, in business, you should never talk about politics or religion.
Right.
I just think it's that.
Well, even in polite company, I mean, that's not just business. That's.
I mean, this is torn apart families.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
And you know, at Harlan Berk, we have a lot of left-facing people. We have a lot of right-facing people. We have a lot of centralist people, and we all get along.
Yeah.
Because you know why?
We don't talk about politics.
We all have respect for each other.
That's true too. But we don't really talk about politics.
We try not to talk about politics. So,
and speaking of Harlan J. Berk and politics, if you are in the city of Chicago, stop by, look at our window where we have some very, very cool classic campaign buttons.
We do.
Going all the way back into the 50s.
Yeah,
some
Mike
very, very
Russ
cool
did
stuff.
A great job. And if you guys ever catch Silver Stacker on YouTube, he does a great job. He's done a lot of videos with our staff downstairs with Mike and with Russ. He's done some videos with me. Super, super nice guy.
Yeah.
And very informative on how to collect modern silver coins.
Highest compliment you can give him. Good information.
Good information.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so that's our show. Sorry, guys, we were delayed, but I had to go to Baltimore last week. And so sometimes that's just
the way it happens. But that's okay. We're here.
But I'll be here for a while now. So hopefully we'll be back on a regular schedule.
You know what? It was
again, everybody,
please.
Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It makes our life easier. Then that way I don't have to go and promote it all over the place to show you when our show's online. You'll just get us a quick little notice.
Yeah, if you like and subscribe, you will definitely get you'll be notified, you know, when the new videos come out, which typically every 2 weeks is when we publish one.
Typically.
Typically.
Anyway, all right.
Well, fun, thanks for everything that you do. Thanks to everybody who helped us put this together. And thanks to you who listened, because we really appreciate it and we wouldn't be doing it without you. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, anything else you got, Aaron?
Nah.
Okay.
I'm good.
For the Coin Show podcast. Thanks a lot. Have a great night.
Thanks for listening to the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk. We'll return with another episode soon. Meantime, you can join our private group on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search the Groups tab for Ancient Coin Podcast Discussion Group and ask to join. There you can become part of our community, where we share and discuss ancient coins, as well as the show, the ancient coin market, auctions, or just to give our own opinions on things in order to learn together. Join Aaron and Mike again soon for the next episode of the Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Berk.